We're going to have a nice working day again today. And Marloes is not here, so we can do some stuff for ourselves. And maybe if you are nice to me today, then you'll get a nice present when we get home. Maybe a new USB stick or, well, maybe or a new drive and maybe some new ports, because you certainly lack some ports. There. Updates. 1.5 hours. Oh, come on, you piece of I don't like updates. And you're too slow, so I need to power you up again. I knew it. Computers. I don't like computers. 4 hours in... Annemieke, give me a new laptop again. Not working. And of course the camera is recording as well.
Oh, Danny, did you calm down?
Oh yes, I was taking a sip of my Einhorn Glücksgetränk that we got from one of our fans.
Always the solution.
Yeah, it's always the solution. Do you even our fans? Do you even read the messages that appear below here?
It's live, Danny. I can't read them at the same time.
Well, take for instance this one. Danny, why are you always standing next to the beautiful women at Hanse?
Oh, that's so cute.
It's cute. And it's true, I'm only standing here. It's not that like anything is going to happen once the camera turns on. It's not that like we are going to dive into the suitcase.
No.
It's not that like we're going to dive into the suitcase.
No. Back to business.
Back to business, yes.
What are we going to do today?
Well, we have something that we think is very nice. We have something that makes our core business, in fact.
Yeah.
We are going to talk about animation.
Yeah, we already made infographics in Illustrator. We
edited photos in Photoshop.
Yeah, we used Premiere for video.
But animation is not one of our one of the subjects that we have covered yet, and that's that's what we are going to do today. And what will the animation be about?
The animation will be about the 17 Millennium Development Goals.
One of the 17 Millennium Development Goals from the United Nations. And
why do we use animations?
Why are we going to use animation for that? Well, animation is something that's animation is a very attractive way to transfer information in just about 60 seconds.
Yeah.
You can try and share a 200-page Word document on WhatsApp, but you're not going to do that. You're going to share an animation. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Or some GIFs or...
Yeah. So we're going to make the animation in After Effects. So before we begin, be really nice for your laptop, because it's a really difficult program to learn, and also it takes a lot of storage. So clean your laptop a little bit, give it a little treat, and then we can start.
The world's oceans drive global systems that make the Earth habitable for humankind. As much as 40% of the ocean is polluted by human activity. The target of goal number 14, to sustainably manage and protect marine and coastal ecosystems from pollution by reducing marine pollution, and overfishing and regulate harvesting, and prohibit fishery subsidies. So that in 2030 we have a cleaner ocean and happy, healthy fish on our plate.
So this is an example of how your animation is going to look like. But before you can make this in After Effects, you have to follow some preparation steps, just like following a recipe. For example, an apple pie. So you begin with slice the apples.
You're going to write a voiceover text.
Yeah, then you're going to knead the dough.
You're going to make the storyboard from the voiceover text.
Yeah, you're going to add some spices, some sugar.
Then you're going to turn the voiceover text into Illustrator drawings.
Yeah, and then the next step is that you put all the ingredients together. You're going to build the actual apple pie.
Okay, so you have to record the voiceover text and then put it in After Effects and make the animation.
Yeah, and then 20 minutes in the oven.
After Effects is rendering your animation, so you can make a video file of it.
And your apple pie or animation is ready.
And what are we going to do with an animation or an apple pie that's ready?
Enjoy it.
Put it on the YouTube.
Put it on YouTube, yeah.
Here you have it in a short overview.
Step 1. Write your voiceover text and make sure it's no longer than 60 seconds. Record it or use the stopwatch on your phone to determine the length. A 40-second script is approximately 6 full sentences. Step 2. Make a storyboard on paper that visualizes each sentence of your voiceover text. Step 3. Make an illustrated drawing of each shot on your storyboard. Important, make use of layers for every individual object, so you can move every object individual in After Effects. Save every scene in a different Illustrator file. It's handy to number them in order of the storyline. Step 4. Make sure your folder will look like this in the end, so you can reach everything easily.
A good start is half the work.
Well, finally we can start working on After Effects.
Good luck, guys.
We're ready to start After Effects. Make sure you use the updated version of After Effects in Premiere Pro so that we don't have any problems using dynamic link in the end. Once you start After Effects, you'll get a starting screen. And we'll click on New Project. In After Effects, you work in compositions, and in Premiere Pro, you work in sequences. And that's why we are going to create a new composition. Give the composition a name and use the preset HDTV 1080-25 with a width of 1920 and a height of 1080 pixels. Make sure the pixel ratio is set to pixels and that the frame rate is set to 25 frames a second. And set the timer to 1 minute. Then click on OK. The After Effects interface is divided into panels, just like Premiere Pro. If your layout is different from what you see here, go to Window, then to Workspace, and choose Default. The project panel is on the left side, and anything you use will be imported into the project panel. We'll import our Illustrator files there. Right next to it is the composition panel. This is your monitor, so everything you do in your timeline will appear here. You'll drag your footage to your timeline, and in your timeline you can animate text and objects. On the right panel you'll find effects, align options, and other tools.
Let's start with importing Illustrator files. You can import footage by clicking twice in the project panel. Select all the Illustrator files that you want to use, in our case all of these Illustrator files, and select Import as Composition, Retain Layer Sizes. We want to retain layer sizes because every object is on a different layer. Your project panel is now filled with Illustrator compositions and folders. If you click twice on the first Illustrator composition, 1.Millennium Goal 14, you will see the different layers of the Illustrator file. Copy the layers and paste them into your animation composition. We need the voiceover for the timing of the animation. Import the voiceover and drag it to the timeline. Place the voiceover at the bottom of the layer panel. The standard background is a checkerboard pattern. This means the background is transparent. For our animation, we'll be using different backgrounds. Drag your Illustrator layer C background to the bottom of the layer panel.
Now it's time to animate the first scene. Let's make a title reveal for the text and a mask for the water icon. We're making two shapes with the same color as the background, so the text can slide from behind these shapes. Go to Layer and select New and then Shape Layer. Draw a rectangle and give it the same color as the background. Rename your layer and make sure it's ordered above the other layers. Go to Layer and select New and then Shape Layer for the text live below water. Let's move the text with keyframes. Click on the drop-down menu of Layer 14 and then click on Transform. You'll see different options, like Position, Scale and Rotate. For moving up and down and left and right, use Position. Make sure the text is in the right position. Click on the stopwatch to activate the position. The stopwatch turns blue. Congrats! You've made your first keyframe. Set the timeline scroller back in time. For position, you have a number on the left and a number on the right. Left is for the horizontal movement and right is for the vertical movement. Another keyframe will appear if you scroll one of these numbers. Move the text of layer 14 up. It will disappear because of the shape layer that's in front of it. Now do the same for life below water, but this time with a horizontal movement. You can move the fish the same way. Make sure the fish is in the right position and click on the stopwatch. Go back in time and place your fish outside the frame. If you play your scene from the beginning, you'll see that the fish and the text are moving. Move the keyframes closer to each other if the movement is too slow.
For a smoother transition between two keyframes, we are using a script. Copy the script text and in After Effects, hold Alt or Option and click on the stopwatch. Paste the code into the expression panel and check the end result. For the water, we'll use a mask. Select the layer Water. Now select the rectangle shape in the top menu. And draw a frame around the waves. Go to the water layer in your timeline and click on the drop-down menu. You will see Mask and Transform. Make sure the object is in the right position and click on the stopwatch of Mask Path. A keyframe will appear. Go back in time with the timeline scroller. Click on the arrow on the left in your top menu. Select the anchor points of the mask with Shift, release Shift and drag it to the left in the monitor panel.
For the transition to the next scene, select layer 14, water and life below water and all the shape layers. Press P on your keyboard for position. Now click on the keyframe before position. Scroll a few frames in time with your timeline scroller and move them to the left out of the frame. Now apply the ease and whisk script to all of the layers to get a nice smooth transition. Move the background layer downwards using keyframes. The waves are visible now. Timing is crucial in transitions, so play around with the distance of the keyframes. When the keyframes are closer to each other, a movement is faster than when keyframes are less close to each other. Scale the fish down in the same time that the background layer is moving. Last step is to add a white solid background, because the checkerboard background is now visible. And that means that everything that has the checkerboard pattern is in fact transparent. And we don't want that right now. Right-click in your layer panel and choose New Solid. Give it the name white background color and click on OK. Now we want the fish to just swim in the ocean and reveal the island with its palm trees and tiny houses. Open composition number 2, background sea and island, and copy all of the layers to your main animation composition. Make them a bit shorter and move them to the point where the voiceover starts with this scene. To make the houses and trees pop up as they do, we'll first have to change the anchor point. The anchor point is the little round point that you see in the middle of an object. It's the point an object rotates around and the point where it scales from. We want the trees and the houses to pop up from their respective bases, so that's where we move the anchor point to. There. See how it now scales from the base? Now let's move the palm tree back to its original position. And let's do the same thing with all the other objects so that they will pop up from the base as well. So change the anchor point and place them back in their original position. Next step is to link the palm trees and the houses to the island so we can move them all together back to below sea level once this part is done. After Effects is the parent option for that. Select all of the tree and house layers and click on the drop-down menu under Parent and Link. Now choose the island layer. As you can see, when we move the island down, the trees and houses will stick to the island and follow its position. See how everything stays in place? Now we have to make all the objects pop up. It's not a difficult trick, it's just something we do with the scaling. But first we have to move the island up again and make sure that the island rises up from the ocean. So there it moves in place. And now we can make every tree and house pop up from its base. A good timing is essential here, so the movement, the pop-up, has to start right after the island has risen up from the ocean. So you do that by first scaling it up from 0% to 150%, and then right after that, again back to 100%. Let's select all the layers that belong to the island and make them shorter so they'll disappear right before the next scene starts.
An animation like this one also works a bit like an infographic does, so it's nice to use the graphic elements that you have to present data. In this case, we'll use part of the ocean as a bar graph to tell that 40% of the ocean is polluted by human activity. To do this, make a copy of the sea background layer. We want the color to be darker so it looks polluted. So right-click on this layer, go to Layer Styles and select Color Overlay. Now open up the layer, open up Layer Styles, and under Color Overlay select your favorite pollution color. After this, make a mask again and reveal the 40% once the voiceover talks about it.
And this is a little bit more difficult because you don't control any values. You just select the mask path, you start the animation by clicking on the stopwatch, then you go back in time and you move the shape back.
Let's add some garbage to emphasize that the oceans are polluted. Place the layers and let them move in position around the percentage.
So let's add a rubber ducky and some other garbage, maybe this water tank. There, rotate a little bit, and this milkshake, and let's rotate that a little bit as well. And then let them move into the screen together with the pollution.
To make them float around, so it looks a bit more like they're in the water, we can make use of an effect. You can find them over here to the right side of your screen under Effects and Presets. Search for Wiggle and drag the effect on one of the garbage layers. Now select the layer and click on Window and Effect Controls. Tweak the amount of wiggle speed and wiggle movement so the garbage won't move around like crazy.
We can also add a bit of a ripple effect to simulate the underwater effect. Go back to the Effects and Presets panel and search for Wave Warp. Drag the effect onto the layer and tweak the settings for wave height, width and wave speed. After this, the last thing we have to do is move everything out of the screen. So we end up with a white screen that's ready for the next scene. So let's select all of these layers that we see over here, except for the white background, of course, and then move them all out of the screen. Don't forget to paste the script again so the movement is nice and smooth. You can now finish the entire animation using the same techniques as before. Leave things up to your own imagination to add extra movement and effects. Don't be afraid to experiment and try things out. And if something goes wrong, just go a step back by pressing Command Z or Ctrl Z.
Now it's time to finalize your animation.
Yes, next step is to add some music and sound effects.
Yeah, and we'll do that in Premiere Pro. You already know Premiere Pro from editing your videos. And we'll use a dynamic link between After Effects and Premiere Pro to make the edit.
After Effects does have the option to add music and sound effects, but it's not really an app to edit videos with. That's why we'll still use Premiere Pro to add music, sound effects and make the final edit. Now, there's two ways to do this. The first is making exports of your animated scenes, or export the entire animation first, and then import the exported video file into Premiere. This is recommended when you have a computer that's not so fast. The second option is the one we will cover, making a dynamic link between After Effects and Premiere Pro. To import the After Effects composition with your animation into Premiere Pro, Start a new project and make a new 1080p sequence. After this, click on File, choose Adobe Dynamic Link, and then import After Effects composition. Now find your After Effects project and choose the composition that has your animation.
Now you can add music and sound effects and make the final edit. This can save you a lot of time if you have a fast computer, because you can now make changes in your animation in After Effects, then save your project and immediately see the changes when you switch back to Premiere. This way you won't have to render your entire animation again every time you make a small adjustment. Make sure that volume levels are okay, so your voiceover sounds harder than the background music, and blend in the sound effects nicely, so they sound not too soft and surely not too hard. When you're done editing, go to File, Export and Media, and use these settings: a resolution of 1080p, a frame rate of 25 frames a second, and the H.264 codec. Click on Export and Premiere will make an MP4 video file of your edit. And after a while, your animation is ready to watch.
After Effects seems like a difficult program, but once you get the hang of it, you will see you can do a lot with it.
Did you know that even animation films win Oscars?
Like Shrek?
Yeah, Shrek won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I kind of feel like Shrek right now.
I already thought I saw you a bit turn a bit green.
Yeah, I've eaten too much apple pie for sure. So can you please do the outro without me?
Yes.
Okay,
Go
thank
lay
you.
down, and then I will say thank you for watching. Have fun making your animation, and yeah, don't forget to subscribe this channel so you will get updates on new videos. Till next time.